And there are people that are going to make decisions that they're going to come into conflict with law enforcement, bank robbers, gang members who are committing drive-by shootings, carjackings. Some people do not want to go to jail, and they will use weapons, and they will use them against cops. That crowd, unfortunately, is always going to be there. And these encounters can be violent. Can we reduce them? Yes. We should strive very hard to reduce them. I'll give an example from my own experience as a deputy working in East LA. I was with my partner in the Maravilla housing development, and we were talking with a known gang member who was a juvenile. And my partner was driving. I'm sitting in what they call shotgun, the passenger seat. And he had the car in drive, and he kind of thought, wait a minute, I think this kid actually has a gun. And now we're at a disadvantage because the kid's standing outside the car armed, and we're like sitting ducks inside the car. So he reaches over and grabs the kid by the waist and grabs his hands on a big revolver. But the kid's trying to pull away, and he's in the driver's seat. He falls out of the car, and the car goes forward, and there's no one in the driver's seat, and I'm in the passenger seat.
Oh, wow.
And the kid now, he's off and running. So I reach over, I put it in park, the gears grind, it stops, I jump out, I give chase, my partner gets up, we give chase. And as we're running, I can see the huge revolver in his baggy shorts, cut off shorts, and you could tell it was a heavy, so we knew what it was. And as we're running, he reaches in and pulls out the revolver, and I can see the revolver. And now I'm running behind him, I'm about this close. And of course I have my weapon out, and I'm suggesting to him in plain English what's going to happen if he doesn't drop it. And I could see the barrel going up and down, up and down. I'm thinking, please don't turn around or don't do something, because I knew the kid by name, I knew his age, I knew everything about him. And the last thing I do is have to fire at him. But guess what? There comes that magical moment where you got to make a tough decision. Fortunately, I was persuasive enough that it registered in his mind that he was about to die. Then he dropped the weapon, we tackled him, end of story, no tragedy. Other times it doesn't finish in a happy ending like that. Even if it's not a happy ending because still the kid had a weapon, all those other things. But in those conflicts like that, sometimes they're not gonna have the reaction I did. Someone else might perceive the threat more immediately and decide to fire. And from a legal standpoint, they may be justified. It's the individual deputies or cops' perspective that counts what they perceive to be the threat. So we have training that we have to make sure is adequate. Right now, it's not. When McDonald came into office, we're only at 45% compliance with a minimum level of training mandated by the state of California. That was 4 years ago. Now we're down to 22%. And a lot of that training is continued professional training, involves perishable skills, defensive tactics, legal, case law, all these things that actually contribute to our decision making of deputies in the field. So we got to get up to 100%. We're going in the wrong direction. So that is a start of it. There's additional training we need to embark on that we actually have very good training, but we can't afford to offer to our deputies because we're so severely understaffed. When you're that understaffed, you can't pull people out of patrol to send them to training, because guess what? There's no one left to replace them. There's no one left to answer 911 and respond to your emergency because now they're training. So it's a vicious cycle that we have to end. We have to increase our level of staffing so we can bring our proficiency levels up. And some of that is just, we have to improve our recruitment process. Right now, our number one obstacle to recruitment is called Jim McDonald. He's actually, what's the best way to describe it? He's the reason why people do not apply to the sheriff's department like they used to. Deputies actively tell applicants to do ride-alongs, don't apply with us, please. If you value, you cherish your career in law enforcement, go anywhere else. And that, we should have 18,000 active recruiters, our employees. We have actually 18,000 people telling you to go somewhere else. So we have to change these dynamics. But when we get to that, we get to the proper training, we're going to be able to improve our response to these conditions, these crisis situations. We can learn how to de-escalate. There's a lot of training, crisis intervention training, a lot of things we can do to de-escalate these things. We're not going to eliminate, unfortunately, shootings in their totality. They're going to be there with us because of human nature. But we can reduce the amount. However, the lethality of it, when people decide to drop the hammer and fire on someone because of a perceived threat, they don't shoot to wound, they don't shoot to shoot the weapon out of their hand, because that's Hollywood and TV has this weird notion. No. And you'd be surprised how in a gunfight, deputies could be this close or even closer and no one hits anybody. And you wonder how. Because when you're under adrenaline, when you're moving, when all these things are happening in a very dynamic fashion and very quickly, we're talking 2 seconds. And you'd be surprised the inability to do the obvious. So we have to understand the dynamics, we have to understand the limitations in human decision making, but we're going to strive to reduce them as much as possible. We're going to increase the ability to de-escalate, and then we're going to have and the outcome is going to be better in the long term.
Great. Any other questions?